Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The windshield wipers screeched across glass as I pulled up outside Megan's house, Kayla's sister. My hands were gripping the steering wheel like I was trying to strangle it. It was nearly 11 p.m. Second time this month, she hadn't come home. No warning. No text. I rang the bell harder than I should have. And when the door creaked open, there she was, Kayla, my wife, sitting barefoot on the couch, wrapped in a throw blanket like it was just another cozy Friday night. Mark? She blinked, setting down a mug. What are you doing here? My voice was already razor sharp. You didn't answer your phone. Again. I lost track of time, she said casually, brushing a curl behind her ear. Megan made cocoa. We were talking. Megan, in the kitchen, looked down like she didn't want to be part of this. 2 voicemails, Kayla. I stepped inside. I thought maybe you got in an accident. She stood slowly, the blanket slipping off her shoulders. I didn't realize it was that late. You did this last week, too. Her jaw tightened. I said I lost track of time. What more do you want me to say? I want the truth, I snapped. You don't even look surprised to see me. She held my stare for a long, cold second. Maybe because I knew you'd jump to conclusions. I opened my mouth, but Megan stepped in, her voice cautious. You guys can take this home. Please. The ride back was dead silent. The kind that hums louder than words. Her seatbelt clicked, but she didn't say a thing. The streetlights flashed across her face, unreadable. I gripped the wheel, trying to hold back everything boiling under the surface. I glanced over. Was it really Megan's? Or is there something else you're not saying? She didn't answer, just stared out the window like I wasn't even there. Kayla, I said, slower now. You've been distant. You've been gone. I'm not stupid. I didn't say you were, she whispered. But you're treating me like I am. She folded her arms and leaned her head against the window, like she'd rather be anywhere but next to me. That silence, it wasn't new. But tonight, it felt louder than ever. I used to come home to hugs, laughter in the kitchen, her leaning over the stove humming some old song off key. But now, our home had become quiet. Too quiet. I'm just a regular guy, 34 years old, work logistics for a local outdoor gear company. I leave by 7, get home by 5:30. I fix the sink when it drips. I kiss my wife goodnight. Or at least, I used to. Kayla was the calm to my storm. She taught kindergarten, made killer lasagna, and always left sticky notes in my lunchbox when we were first married. Now I was wondering when that version of her disappeared. And more importantly, why? That night, as I lay next to her in bed, her back turned to me, I stared at the ceiling. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because I knew something had shifted. And I wasn't sure I wanted to know what it was. 2 weeks passed, and the silence between us became something we wore like a second skin. We still said good morning. Still asked if the other wanted coffee. Still shared the same bed. But there was a strange politeness to everything, like 2 strangers stuck in a long elevator ride. That Friday night, Kayla asked if I'd help her hang the string lights out back. The ones she always pulled out when the weather turned cool. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I just held the ladder steady while she clipped little warm bulbs along the patio beams. When we sat down to eat, she had set everything carefully. Takeout from the Thai place we both loved, mismatched candles glowing, a bottle of non-alcoholic cider chilling in a bucket of ice. I tilted my head. What's the occasion? Her eyes met mine across the table, and for a moment, something flickered there, nervous, hesitant, almost fragile. She said, fingers curling around the stem of her glass. I need to tell you something. The way she said it, for a second, my stomach dropped. That same cold hand clutched at me again. I set my fork down. Okay, what is it? She exhaled shakily, then smiled. A small, trembling thing. I'm pregnant, Mark. Everything else vanished. The quiet, the tension, the ache in my chest. Gone. I just stared at her, stunned. Wait, really? She nodded, and her lip trembled. I found out a few days ago. I was scared to say anything because I didn't know how you'd take it, with how we've been lately. I pushed back my chair and stood, feeling this electric jolt run through me. Kayla, are you serious? She let out a soft laugh, nodded again. Yeah, I'm serious. And before I could think, I was pulling her out of her chair, lifting her up in my arms and spinning her like some scene out of a movie. You're gonna be a mom, I said, laughing, my voice cracking. And you're gonna be a dad, she whispered into my shoulder. I didn't care about the cold. I didn't care about the past 2 weeks. All I could think was, this was it. This was our turning point. When I finally set her down, I kissed her forehead and wrapped her in the blanket off the chair. I poured us both glasses of sparkling cider, hands shaking slightly. To the baby, I said, holding up my glass. She clinked hers against mine with a watery smile. To us. The lights above us glowed golden. The crickets had started chirping in the grass. Somewhere down the street, a neighbor's dog barked once and then went quiet again. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like we were okay. Like maybe we were going to be okay. We stayed outside longer than usual that night. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and we started tossing out baby names like we used to toss coins into fountains, half joking, half dreaming. I told her I hoped it'd be a girl, so she could have her mom's laugh and her fire. She laughed and told me I'd cry either way. She wasn't wrong. Later, as we lay in bed, her hand resting gently over her stomach, I found myself smiling in the dark. I didn't know what had been going on with her the last few weeks. Maybe I didn't want to know. Because tonight felt like hope again. I never thought I'd care so much about paint colors. But there I was, standing in the middle of the spare bedroom with a roller in my hand and yellow streaks all over my forearm. The soft shade Kayla picked was called Buttercream Glow. I remember because I laughed out loud when I saw the name. You think the baby's going to appreciate glow-in-the-dark toast? I asked, smirking. Kayla, barefoot and glowing herself, laughed from the stepladder. It's warm and bright. And cheerful. Like childhood should be. Okay, Monet, I said, rolling another patch on the wall. You're the boss. We weren't fighting anymore. We weren't avoiding each other. Somewhere between the pregnancy test and the paint samples, something softened in both of us. We didn't talk about those late nights she disappeared. I didn't bring up the silence, the distance. It was like we both made an unspoken deal. Protect the bubble. Don't poke it. Every evening, after dinner, we'd come into the room and chip away at our project, building a future in color. Kayla hummed along to the classic rock station I kept on low volume. Her bump grew more pronounced with each passing week, and so did the tiny life between us. Not just the baby, the us we used to be. One evening, I walked into the room and caught her sitting cross-legged on the floor, holding up a onesie she'd just unpacked. It said Little Explorer. She looked up at me, and I swear, her smile hit me right in the ribs. You're going to teach them how to pitch, right? She asked. Of course, I said, flopping down beside her. And how to parallel park, and change a tire, and survive on instant noodles through college. She laughed, her fingers brushing the fabric. And I'll teach them how to draw stars and write their name in cursive. We sat there for a long time, naming things we wanted to pass on. Her stubbornness, my patience, her love for books, my weird obsession with hot sauce. One night, curled up on the couch with a blanket over us and the TV playing a documentary we were barely watching, she shifted and looked at me sideways. So, she said casually, I talked to my mom. Okay, I said, rubbing her arm gently. She offered her lake house for the gender reveal. Just a small thing. Close family, some friends. I raised an eyebrow. Is that still a thing? Like, people making confetti bombs and pink powder cannons? She smiled. No cannons. Just something simple. Mom wants to cook. Megan said she'll bring those raspberry tarts you like. I nodded, slowly. Sure. Sounds good. When? First weekend next month. Okay, I said. We'll be ready. She looked relieved. Thanks, Mark. I just want this to be a happy memory. I squeezed her hand. Me too. And for once, I wasn't pretending. There were still little cracks. Moments I'd catch her pausing too long when she thought I wasn't watching. Times I'd wake up to find her sitting in the nursery at 3 a.m., just staring. But I told myself that was normal. First-time parent nerves. Hormones. Dreams pressing too hard on sleep. We took photos. A lot of them. Her in front of the yellow wall, smiling. Me holding the baby book upside down and pretending to look confused. Our fridge became a collage of future hope. Ultrasound pictures, calendar notes, color swatches, and baby name lists scribbled on sticky notes. Evelyn. I'd suggest. Too old-fashioned, she'd reply. Noah. Too popular. Zeppelin. She'd throw a pillow at me. It became a rhythm. Soft, light, like the breath between storms. That Saturday, we went to the farmer's market and bought way too many apples. I carved 2 with little hearts and put them on the nursery windowsill, Because Kayla said the baby should see love everywhere, even in fruit. Our house in Boulder never felt more like a home. Craftsman style, white trim, creaky floorboards. It held us in a way I hadn't noticed in years. And yet, every once in a while, I'd catch my reflection in the window, smiling, hopeful, and feel a strange tug in my chest. Like part of me was still waiting for something. But I ignored it. Because love was growing. And we were painting a future in yellow. The kind of bar where stories get told louder with every drink and the floor creaks with a kind of history. That's where I found myself on a crisp Friday night. The smell of beer and old wood wrapping around me like an old jacket. Wake you. Chad leaned forward across the sticky table, a half-drunk pint in his hand. You're gonna be a dad? I grinned, raising my glass. Believe it, man. He smacked the table with an open palm, laughing so hard his face went red. Holy hell, Mark. About time. It's real, I said. Kayla told me a few weeks back. I kept it quiet till we had the first checkup. Donnie, who'd known me since our community college days, leaned in too. You've been hiding this from us. I wasn't hiding it. Just letting it sink in. Chad slapped me on the back, nearly knocking my beer over. Dude, this is huge. You're gonna be one of those dads that builds rocking chairs and says why stuff like, back in my day, we used real diapers. I laughed, shaking my head. Nah, I'll be the dad who lets the kid eat cereal for dinner and says it builds character. Glasses clinked all around the table. The music in the bar was low and mellow, an old blues guitar riff winding its way through the chatter. I leaned back and just let it all soak in. The beer, the boys, the warmth. For the first time in a while, I felt grounded. Solid. Chad raised his drink again. To Mark, future dad, officially entering the sleepless club. To Mark, the guys echoed. Hey, I added, sitting up straighter, we're doing a gender reveal thing next weekend. Kayla's mom's place, out by Lake Mary. You guys better show. Chad narrowed his eyes. Is there going to be cake? Yes. Exploding blue or pink stuff? No explosions. He nodded thoughtfully. All right, I'm in. Donnie grinned. You sure you want all of us there? You know what happens when Chad starts asking inappropriate questions. Hey. Chad held up a finger, mock serious. I am a respectful guest when cake is involved. I chuckled. Yeah, I want you guys there. I want everyone who matters there. We're turning a page, and I want to start it right. The waitress came by with another round. I didn't remember ordering it, but no one was complaining. The laughter kept coming in waves, and somewhere between the second and third drink, Chad leaned in with a quieter voice. Hey, seriously, you good? I paused, swirling my glass. He noticed. I mean, this is a big change. Just want to know you're okay. I met his eyes. Yeah, I am. Took me a minute to adjust, but now, I'm ready. I want this. He nodded slowly. Then I'm happy for you, man. We clinked glasses again, this time without words. I don't know how late we stayed. Long enough that the crowd shifted twice and the bartender changed the music to something slower. Long enough that my cheeks hurt from smiling. Long enough that I forgot there was ever a time I felt like something was missing. As we spilled out into the cold night air, breath fogging in the light of the street lamps, Chad threw an arm around me. Mark Walker. Father-to-be. If it's a boy, name him Chad. I'm not joking. I am, I replied instantly. He burst out laughing, and the sound echoed down the quiet street. Driving home, I kept the window cracked. Just a bit of the night air to keep me grounded. I had no idea that while I was out, laughing with friends, something else was starting to stir back home. But that night, in that moment, everything felt right. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Too quiet. Kayla had left an hour earlier, saying she was running a few errands. I was still in work clothes, half listening to the hum of the dishwasher, when the doorbell rang. I opened it without thinking. A man stood there. Early 30s. Clean jacket. Calm eyes. Not nervous. Not angry. Just prepared. Mark, he asked. That's me. He nodded once. My name's Brandon. We need to talk about Kayla. My stomach dropped so fast I actually felt dizzy. I don't know you, I said, my voice already tight. You've got the wrong house. No, he said evenly. I don't. I started to close the door, but he lifted a hand, not threatening, just stopping the motion. Please, he said. Just 5 minutes. You deserve that. I stared at him. Every instinct in my body was screaming no. But something else, something colder, made me pause. You've got 1 minute, I said. Say what you came to say. He exhaled, like he'd been holding that breath for a while. Kayla and I have been seeing each other. For months. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it sounded insane. That's not even clever, I said. Whatever game you're playing, take it somewhere else. I'm not playing a game, he replied. I wish I was. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. I didn't come here to argue. I came here because there's a baby involved. My jaw clenched. Get off my porch. There's a chance the child she's carrying is mine. That did it. I stepped forward, finger pointed at his chest. You say one more word about my wife or my child, and you'll need help walking back to your car. His voice didn't rise. That scared me more than if it had. She told me she was married, he said. She told me you were trying. She told me she'd end it when she found out. Stop, I said. Just stop. He unlocked his phone and held it out. Photos. Kayla in the car I bought her. Kayla at a bar I recognized. Messages. Pages of them. Her name at the top. Her words underneath. I miss you already. He's suspicious. I have to be careful. If it's yours, I don't know what I'll do. My hands started shaking. This is fake. I hoped you'd say that, Brandon replied quietly. I hoped I was wrong too. I shoved the phone back toward him. Get out of here. There's more, he said. I don't care. I warned. You don't get to stand here and dismantle my life like this. Leave. He took a step back, finally showing something on his face. Regret. I didn't want to do this like this, he said. But you deserve the truth. Leave, I shouted, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. I leaned against it, chest heaving, barely hearing his muffled voice through the wood. If you want to talk later, go. I screamed. Get off my property. Silence. When I finally turned around, the house felt wrong. Smaller. Crooked. Like it was tilting. I slid down the wall and sat there on the floor, staring at nothing. The nursery door was still open, yellow walls glowing in the afternoon light. And for the first time since Kayla said the word pregnant, I felt something crack all the way through. The lake shimmered under an early autumn sun, and Kayla's mother's place looked like something out of a postcard. Whitewashed deck, paper lanterns swaying in the breeze, tables draped in baby blue and soft pink linens. Laughter echoed from the dock. Kids darted between the picnic tables with frosting on their cheeks. I stood on the grass, watching everyone like I wasn't part of it. Mark, someone called. Chad. He raised a cupcake like a trophy. Get over here, man. They're about to pop the big mystery. I nodded numbly and wandered toward the deck. Kayla stood near the steps, radiant and glowing in a pale blue sundress. Her bump pressed gently against the fabric. She looked peaceful, the kind of peaceful you have to work to fake. Hey, babe, she said brightly, handing me a small white envelope. Want to do the honors? I looked down at the envelope. Her handwriting on the front read, let the guessing begin. Everyone gathered around. Her mom smiled sweetly. Megan stood near the cake with her phone out, ready to record. Kayla leaned in, lowering her voice, but still playful. What do you think it is? I didn't blink. I didn't touch the envelope. I just stared at her. I'd be better off guessing who the real father is. Silence fell so fast it sucked the air right out of the deck. Kayla's smile dropped instantly. What are you talking about? You heard me. My voice was steady, but it shook underneath. Brandon stopped by the house last week. Said there's a chance the baby's his. Gasps. Her mother's hand went to her mouth. Chad looked like someone had hit him in the stomach. Kayla turned pale. Mark, can we please talk? No, I said sharply. Talk now. Right here. In front of your family. In front of mine. She backed up a step, shaking her head. It's not Brandon's. Oh, I said, stepping closer. Because he showed me the messages. The photos. The part where you said, and I quote, if it's yours, I don't know what I'll do. Her lip trembled. More whispers in the crowd. Then whose is it, Kayla? I asked louder now. Let's get it out. Since we're playing party games. Her voice broke. It's not Brandon's. I met someone. Months ago. It was just once. A mistake. I blinked. A mistake? I didn't even get his last name, she whispered, voice crumbling. It was after a night out with Megan. I was drunk. I didn't think it would matter. Glasses clinked to the floor. Someone gasped. Megan's face went bloodless. You told me you were just getting fresh air. Kayla looked around helplessly. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I took a step back. So let me get this straight. It's not mine. It's not Brandon's. It's some guy you met in a club? Kayla started sobbing. arms wrapped around herself like they could keep her from falling apart. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't say another word. I looked at the envelope still in my hand, dropped it on the table, and reached for my jacket. Mark, she begged, chasing after me. Please, don't walk away. I turned once, met her eyes, and said nothing. Then I walked straight off the deck, down the gravel path, past the shocked faces, and into the fading light. Behind me, I heard nothing but crying and the wind rustling through the trees. The kind of sound that feels like the end of something. While we're here, please press like and let me know you're with me. The trail behind the lake house was empty. Just a narrow dirt path lined with brittle leaves and brittle thoughts. My boots crunched over gravel while the last streaks of sunset bled into the water like a fading bruise. I walked without knowing where I was going. Just away. The air had that early winter bite to it. My jacket wasn't enough. I didn't care. My body moved, but my mind was still stuck on that deck, on Kayla's voice cracking like old paint. I didn't even get his last name. How do you come back from that? I rubbed my hands together, the silence thick as fog around me. Somewhere across the lake, a loon let out a low cry, and for a second, it was the only sound in the whole world. The baby. That was the part one couldn't stop circling back to. I'd felt it kick. I'd painted its room. I'd cried, when she told me we were expecting, and it wasn't even mine. I sat on a bench overlooking the water, wood cold beneath me. My palms pressed against my knees like I was holding myself in place. And the truth settled heavy in my chest. This wasn't just infidelity. It wasn't just lies. It was erasure. She'd erased me from the thing I wanted most. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. I didn't want to see her name. I didn't want another apology, another version of I didn't know how to tell you. But it wasn't her. Brandon, hey, I heard what happened. I'm sorry. I know it's a bad time, but if you want to talk, I'm around. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to throw the phone into the lake. Part of me wanted to scream. But another part, the part that hadn't shut down completely, hesitated. Brandon, the guy I hated on sight. The one who walked up to my door and handed me the truth like it was a package he didn't even want to be carrying. He wasn't the enemy. Not anymore. I sat there for a long time, watching the water go still. Then I typed a simple reply. Me where? I didn't hit send right away. I read it over once, twice, and then I tapped the screen. The message sent. And in that small, quiet moment, a strange calm settled over me. Not peace, not forgiveness, but clarity. Because for the first time all night, I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't shouting. I wasn't walking out of a room filled with people and broken glass. I was just sitting, breathing, and choosing what came next. The parking lot outside the diner buzzed under flickering yellow lights. It was just past midnight, but the place still had a low hum. Truckers nursing coffee, college kids laughing too loud in the corner, and that one guy at the counter who looked like he lived in his booth. I spotted Brandon right away. Back booth. Hood off. Jacket unzipped. His eyes caught mine as I walked in, but he didn't wave. Just nodded once, like he wasn't sure if I was really coming. I slid into the booth across from him. Neither of us spoke at first. A waitress with too much eyeliner came by, dropped menus we didn't touch, poured us 2 cups of coffee without asking. Brandon finally broke the silence. You okay? I stared at the black swirl in my cup. Not really. He nodded, like that made sense. She told me it might be mine, he said softly. That's why I came to you. I thought I deserved to know. You did, I muttered. He looked up. But it's not. No, I said. It's not. His brow furrowed. You got a test already? No, I said, meeting his eyes. She admitted it. Said it wasn't yours. Or mine. Brandon didn't say anything at first. Then, softly, who? I swallowed. My throat felt dry. Some guy she met at a club. Just a stranger. No name. No number. Nothing. He blinked. Once. Twice. And then leaned back in the booth like the wind had gone out of him. Wow, he whispered. I gave a short, hollow laugh. Yeah, that about sums it up. We sat in silence again. Not the awkward kind. The kind that fills a space when there's nothing left to protect. Brandon rubbed the back of his neck. I kept telling myself it wasn't serious. That maybe it was just something physical. But she said she felt something. Said she was confused about you. About the baby. About us. I kept my eyes on him. Did you love her? He hesitated. I wanted to. I nodded slowly. Yeah, me too. Brandon looked up, genuinely surprised. You wanted to? I mean, I said, voice tight, I thought I did. Until I realized she'd already decided I wasn't part of the future she was building. She just forgot to let me know. He breathed out through his nose. That's cold, man. She let us both believe something that wasn't true, I said. And neither of us saw it. We both took a long sip of bitter coffee. It tasted like burnt promises. The waitress stopped by again, offered pie. We waved her off. You know what's weird? Brandon said finally. What? I don't even hate you anymore. I looked at him, deadpan. Well, that's a relief. He laughed, and this time it was real. Not loud, not forced. Just quiet and human. I came to you thinking I'd be defending myself. Fighting for something, he said. But now? I feel like I'm sitting here with someone who understands. I do, I said. Way more than I want to. We didn't plan to stay long. But we did. An hour passed, then another. Not much more was said. But something settled between us. Not friendship, not forgiveness. Just truth. Two men, sitting in the ruins of someone else's choices. Neither of us built the fire. But we both walked away burned. The street was quiet when I pulled into our driveway. The kind of stillness that makes you pause before opening your door. Porch light on. Motionless trees. The yellow nursery window glowing faintly upstairs like it didn't know the world below had already collapsed. And there she was. Kayla sat on the porch steps, arms wrapped around her knees, hair unbrushed, sweater sleeves soaked at the cuffs. She looked up when she heard the engine, her face streaked with tears, eyes red and swollen, like she'd been crying for hours. For a second, I just sat there in the truck, hands gripping the wheel, watching her, and then I got out. Mark. She called my name before I even shut the door. I didn't answer. She stood slowly, wobbling a little, like her legs didn't trust her anymore. Please, her voice cracked. Can we talk? I stopped halfway up the steps. Talk. Now you want to talk? She nodded quickly, tears fresh again. I don't even know where to start. I messed everything up, I know that. But please, let me say something. I looked at her. The same woman I once built furniture for, painted walls with, kissed in the kitchen while water boiled on the stove. And now? She was a stranger. A familiar shape filled with unfamiliar silence. I'm listening, I said. She sniffled and stepped closer, hands trembling. It was never supposed to go this far. That night, I was drunk, and I felt alone, and I made a mistake. A stupid, horrible mistake. One night. I asked quietly. You did all this for one night. I didn't mean to lie, she whispered. I didn't know what to do once I found out I was pregnant. You lied for months. I was scared. You were selfish, I said, cutting through her excuses like wind through dry leaves. You let me plan a life around a child that might not be mine. You let me fall in love with something that never even belonged to me. She broke then, not gently, not dramatically, just collapsed into herself like her bones had given up. She dropped to the step, sobbing into her hands, shaking so hard I thought she might come apart right there. But I didn't kneel beside her. I didn't reach for her. I painted the nursery with you, I said, staring off toward the street. I told people, my friends, my family. You let me walk into that party and toast a future you knew wasn't real. I didn't know how to fix it, she cried. I didn't want to lose you, but you did, I said, calm now. Hello. And you lost me long before tonight. You just didn't notice. She looked up slowly, mascara trailing down her cheeks. Please, Mark. I still love you. I shook my head. No, you don't. I do. No, I said again, firmer this time. If you loved me, you wouldn't have let me be the last one to find out. I was trying to protect you. No, I cut in. You were trying to protect the version of yourself you wanted me to believe in. Her lips parted like she had something else to say, something that might rewrite the damage. But I'd heard enough. I took a deep breath, stepped around her on the porch, and reached for the door. She didn't follow. Mark, she whispered behind me, voice barely holding together. What do I do now? I looked back at her once. Not long. Just enough. You live with it. Then I walked inside. I shut the door. And for the first time in months, I locked it behind me. She didn't knock again. She stayed out there for a long time, sobbing into the dark, while I stood in the hallway, eyes fixed on the closed door of the yellow nursery. It glowed quietly, but the warmth I used to feel, it was gone, because the truth had moved in, and love had moved out. I didn't wake up one morning magically healed. It wasn't like that. What saved me, weirdly enough, was repetition. I started going to the gym at 6 a.m. every day, not because I wanted abs or revenge or some cinematic glow-up. I just needed something that didn't lie. A dumbbell doesn't smile and betray you. A treadmill doesn't say one thing and do another. The pain is honest. The progress is real. That's where I met her. Olivia. She was a trainer at the front, clipboard in one hand, smoothie in the other. No makeup. No pretense. She wore her hair in a messy bun and called everyone boss, even the guy mopping the floor. The first time we actually talked, she handed me a towel and said, "You look like you're running from something." I smirked. "Aren't we all?" She nodded. Some of us just run better with proper form. Over time, the conversations got longer. Easy. Natural. She wasn't trying to impress me, and I didn't feel like I had to perform either. She saw me. Not the guy who got left. Just me. It started with protein shakes. Then coffee. Then long walks after our sessions where we talk about family, failures, how we both hated group fitness classes. She never asked about Kayla, and I never brought her up. I remember the night I told Olivia I loved her. It wasn't under fireworks or during a candlelit dinner. It was on the gym floor, both of us sweaty, breathless, her holding a stopwatch. She looked up, smiling. "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just realized something." "What?" "That I don't want to do this life without you." She blinked, lips parting slightly. "Mark, I love you, Liv." She didn't say anything right away. She just leaned in, pressed her forehead to mine, and whispered, "Then let's do this." A year later, she was pregnant. And this time, there were no questions. No strangers at the door. No hidden messages. Just two people, one heartbeat stronger than the last, and a love that didn't need fixing, because it was built from the truth up. The grocery store was quiet, a weekday morning, off-peak. I was picking up almond milk and diapers, half listening to some old Billy Joel song humming through the ceiling speakers. I turned the corner into the baby aisle and almost bumped into her. Kayla. She was standing by the formula shelf, a stroller in front of her. One hand resting gently on the handle, the other clutching a canister. Her hair was tied back, her face a little tired, but familiar, too familiar. She saw me the same second I saw her. Her body stiffened just slightly. Then, after a beat, she offered a small, hesitant smile. I didn't smile back. I didn't glare, either. I just gave a nod. A polite, detached nod. The kind you give to a stranger you vaguely recognize, someone who once lived in your neighborhood, maybe. And that was it. I didn't look at the baby. I didn't ask how she was. I just pushed my cart past her and kept walking. The funny thing is, I didn't feel angry. Not anymore. I didn't feel that old ache or betrayal clinging to my ribs. I just felt free. Because the life I was living now, the real one, didn't leave room for ghosts. When I got home, Olivia was standing in the kitchen barefoot, humming as she diced fruit. Her belly was rounder now. I walked up behind her, wrapped my arms around her waist, and kissed the back of her neck. She murmured, smiling. "Almond milk acquired?" "And diapers," I said. She turned to look at me, curious. "You okay? You look thoughtful." "I'm good," I said, meaning it. Because I was. Letting go hadn't just closed the door. It had opened every window I didn't know I needed. And on the other side of it was peace. And that was the end of my story. But there's something I've been thinking about ever since. Brandon showed up at my door, knowing what he said could wreck everything. But he told me anyway. He didn't have to. So let me ask you, did he do the right thing? Or would you have stayed silent? Let me know in the comments. And if this story hit you somewhere deep, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.